Chris Brown has arrived in South Africa for his two-day concert taking place at the FNB Stadium at the weekend. But not everyone is a fan. An advocacy organization, Women for Change, and some political parties have called for the singer to be barred from the country due to his history of abuse and gender-based violence conviction. The organization has submitted its petition to the Departments of Home Affairs and of Sports, Arts and Culture, as well as big concerts, calling for the cancellation of the concert. Bulelwa Adonis is the spokesperson for Women for Change. A very good evening to you, Bulelwa. Now, despite all your efforts as an organization, the Chris Brown concert is going ahead. If you could just remind our viewers again of why you wanted this concert to be called off and why it's not only about the abuse of Rihanna back in 2009.
Good evening, Musa. Thank you so much for having me. I truly appreciate your time. So like you said, this is not just about Rihanna. Rihanna, obviously, we all have her image of her being bruised in our minds, and it's imprinted in our minds, I think, because of her fame. And obviously, that's the most popular case. But the reality is there are up to 28 other allegations against him. And this includes a restraining order from his ex-girlfriend, Karushi. I think the most concerning case is a recent one of this year, July 2024, where it was alleged that him and his crew had allegedly brutally attacked 4 concert goers in Texas. So these are just a couple of examples of, the history of Chris Brown. And if we look at legislation-wise, we can tell that according to our legislation, he should have been denied a visa and denied access into our country because of his history of abuse. And this is we're speaking about somebody who served 108 days in jail. So according to our legislation, he should have not received a visa.
So you've been calling on this concert to be cancelled from when it was announced. Now, what sort of reaction did you get from various groups, whether it's fans, the organizers, government departments, when you initially made this call?
We've had an orchestra of hatred, countless trolls, countless cyberbullying, the threats, the just trolling under our posts from individually as the people in the team, as inclusive of the page itself. But then simultaneously, we did receive also support from our community. I think the support was seen the most when Chris Brown himself commented under our post when he said, "Can't wait to come." I think we did see a lot of support coming through. There was some support from a lot of journalists, both locally and internationally. There was support from some political parties, some activists, and organizations as well. But then you also get people like, the Department of Home Affairs, your big concerts that have completely ignored us despite the over 51,000 signatures that we've obtained, that it's gotten to an extent where big concerts has deleted our comments, under their posts, and not just them, but from political parties. We've, the emails that we've sent have also been ignored. So it's been the best of both worlds, but mostly a lot of hatred, but then also simultaneously a lot of support.
Yeah, and speaking of social media posts as well, the irony in that post as well, that the singer Chris Brown did put under your post as well, did get quite a bit of a reaction. You also have kept it online as well to a certain degree too, to fight this fight too. It was on the Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture, Mr. Gayton McKenzie's post, where he was offering to give away tickets that he had bought, and he had said he had bought out of his own pocket. And as Women for Change, you took issue with that as well, that this minister was offering free tickets to this concert.
I mean, we've already expressed why we started the petition in the first place. I think as a minister in this country, given the state of GBV. And the crazy thing is, somebody like our president has constantly been calling GBV a pandemic. But when it comes to our political, our figures, our leaders in political places, they haven't necessarily treated GBV like it matters. And seeing that post from Gates and McKenzie, we were not shy to express our disgust, our shock, our dismay, especially when he mentioned, I think hundreds of those tickets he wanted to give it to children in orphanages. So for us, that's very concerning. Of all the things that they require, he's trying to take them to a concert, as opposed to giving them their basic needs, giving them a place to stay, things like that. So that, I think for us, that was the biggest concern, that he wants to inject children into such an environment, expose him to such an individual, him and his crew. So yeah, we were not shy about the fact that our country lacks accountability, especially when it comes to our political figures, that only when it's in 16 days do we pretend like we care. But now that it's one of our favorites, of course, we're going to show favoritism and selective activism.
Now, hundreds of people will be attending, and the tickets were sold out pretty quickly when they went out onto the market as well. So clearly there is huge support for Chris Brown here. What do you say to those who say, well, you've taken your stance, so don't attend, and you can't impose your ethical outlook on them?
I've said this so many times in interviews whenever asked questions about, anything pertaining tickets and whatnot. I think our intention was never to tell people what to do with their money. Everybody has their own opinion and everybody has their own say. But as an organization, we're still going to maintain the work that we do. We're going to still create awareness. We're still going to educate individuals. If people don't like what we stand for, if people don't like what we're doing, it's so simple. You just unfollow. You just don't agree with what we're doing. And it's so simple. I think for us, we are not choosing to turn a blind eye just because this is a popular celebrity, but we're still choosing to call a spade a spade. I always say that. And in this case, I think a lot of people assume that that we were trying to catch clout because he's popular and whatnot and gain fame or whatever. But the reality is, people can have their own opinions. That's just the reality of life is. But we're going to continue doing the work that we do, creating awareness and fighting against gender-based violence. And this just happens to be an individual who has a history of abuse. So we're not going to downplay that just because this is a favorite celebrity.
And speaking about, gender-based violence, particularly in South Africa, the latest crime stats revealed while some crimes seem to be slightly decreasing, when it comes to sexual offences, there's a rise, including rape particularly. What aren't we getting right, Bulelwa, when it comes to these GBV-related crimes? There's so many campaigns, there's so much talk around it as well. Do you think that the messaging in concerts like this as well is problematic? Are we not getting it right from the music that we're listening to, the stars that we choose to follow as well, from the people that we are around as well? Where is the problem here?
I think you mentioned so many pivotal points, so many important factors to take into consideration, because it's not rooted to one particular thing, but there's multiple facets to this pandemic we call gender-based violence. I just want to, I'm looking down because I printed out the statistics, and I think that it's important that some people may know this. So if you look at the statistics, there has been an increase of 33.8% in femicide cases compared to the years 2022, 2023. And 5,578 women were killed in South Africa between April 2023 and March 2024. I just want us to cement these statistics in our minds so that we recognize the reality of what's going on in this country. Like you said, I think it's incremental. There's so many different things. I think it starts with a lack of accountability. I think that our country continues to downplay it. We have the audacity to pretend like we care about this pandemic when it's 16 days, or when it's Women's Month, or when it's Women's Day, or when it's Mother's Day. But then throughout the year, because this is a 365-day pandemic, we choose to turn a blind eye. We don't have enough conversations. We don't implement gender-based violence in our education systems. You know, our children and even adults, you know, we've done polls on our social media platforms where even adults don't know certain terms. You know, we haven't chosen to educate ourselves personally in terms of what these terms evidently mean. People don't know what coercion means. People don't know what is right behavior, not right behavior. The people that we surround ourselves with, you know, the normalization of certain jokes, the normalization of certain behaviors. You know, we're normalizing befriending people and trying to separate the celebrity or the musician from the art or something like that. That's also another very popular debate since our petition came out, that separate the music from the artist, when logically that doesn't make any sense, because that simultaneously you're listening to that person, you're listening, whether it's their life story or not, that's still the individual attached to their art. So it's little things like that. There's so many facets, you know, this is just, it's like an onion. There's many layers to this.
Yeah.
And it's rooted in so many places, you know, in our household. What are we teaching our children from home? What is being taught at school? What is being normalized? What are they seeing in our country? Our broken justice system, you know, how GBV is handled from our leaders in places like SAPS, you know, at our hospitals when people are getting tested, little things like that.
Yeah, a plethora of factors. Bulelwa, thank you so much for your time and sharing your insights with us this evening. That is Bulelwa Adonis, who is the spokesperson for Women for Change.